All right, we're good. All right. Welcome back, everyone. And we're here for the summer desk. This is not my room back at the academy. A chapter of my life is closed. So here I am back at home. And I'm joined, of course, as always, by Marshall.
What's up? From now on, only refer to him as Second Lieutenant Borja.
Please do not. That would be odd. But
You'll notice every time we start the show now, I start it with saluting him. Hooah.
I mean, civilians don't have to salute military personnel, especially if I'm not in uniform. It's like, out of uniform, just be cool. All right, just be cool.
Hooah, Second Lieutenant Borja.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about some football before we get any more hooah on this Memorial Day weekend, which this one goes out. I'd like to dedicate this one to the troops, both sides, in the words of Ryan Howard. But we're going to talk a little bit about a what-if scenario. We did have a guest lined up, but we're hoping to get him on another week to talk the Mountain West TV deal. But Marshall, I want to start off with a question before we start this episode. How many teams won a share of the Southwestern Conference title in 1994?
Was it something ridiculous like 7 or something like that, right?
5 teams won a share because in that day, well, actually, the best team in the Southwestern Conference that year was Texas A&M. They went 10-0-1, but of course, yeah, I guess gig him down or reverse a gig him, but as always in the Southwestern Conference, recruiting scandals came their way, and Texas A&M was on probation, so they could not contend for the title, unfortunately. So 5 teams shared the title that year, and those 5 teams were really hard. It's really hard not having 2 screens, like at the academy. That is one thing I do miss about doing these pods. So,
Omar, you got Alt Tab.
Alt Tab. I thought it was
Alt Tab is the shortcut. No, Alt Tab. Hold down Alt and Tab at the same time.
All right. Well, I'll take that note. So the 5 teams that won shares were Texas, Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech, and Rice. Those are the 5 teams that won to share the Southwestern Conference. And 1994 notably was the year that Rice beat Texas for the first time since 62, I believe, since the Kennedy speech. So a question I want to follow up with this, and Rice fans, they might have heartache over this year because out of all 3 of their conference losses were by 1 score. They lost to Texas A&M 7-0. They lost to TCU 27-25. They lost to Baylor 19-14. Literally any one of these games, they would have been in the Cotton Bowl, outright champions. We would have seen a 6-5 Rice team get hammered by a USC team with Keyshawn Johnson, but America would have been better off because of it. And I just want to ask Marshall to begin our podcast. If Rice wins one of these games and they win the title outright, do you think the Big 12 comes calling in 1996 when the Southwestern Conference folds?
It's definitely possible. I mean, it's like, what are you looking for at that time when you're, if the conference folds, who do you want? You want, the team on the top of the dog pile. I mean, I see no reason why they wouldn't come calling, I mean, I guess tell me, like, what kind of criteria might they have been looking for that would have prohibited Rice, for instance, right? Or what ended up happening? Well, you know what ended up happening that made them not take them? Because as a share of the conference title, right? I mean, there must have been something that happened behind the scenes there, really, that made it so that they didn't end up joining.
So I don't think it was behind the scenes. Like, if you look comparatively, the one team, I mean, I think that's interchangeable, will be Baylor. Baylor went to 10 bowls from 62 to 94. Rice went to none. Rice was just really not good in the span, like from the Kennedy speech, from the why does Rice play Texas, all the way up to that 94 season. But of course, recency bias does exist as we are human. But I don't know. I kind of lean, as much as I would have liked to see that happen, like to see Rice with all its academic merit, all of its, I guess, not really control of the Houston market. I would have liked to see, but I just don't think that the history holds up for them to be accepted into the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, now that I think about it, it's like, you bring up that point, and given that they're so garbage, really, I guess one season, one more win in one season, is that really going to change things? Probably not going to move the needle all that much, incrementally. So, yeah, it probably ended up about the same as it would.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's play like alternate universe here then. Let's say that the Big 12 does take a shot because, I mean, if you look, in retrospectively, Baylor went to no bowls. Baylor was like the punching bag of the Big 12 for the first 14 years before RG3 started taking them to bowls and the Art Briles tenure. Rice actually went to more bowls than Baylor from 1996 to 2009. But let's just say that Rice does get into the Big 12 as a result of that. And
well, hold on. You can't make the argument of what they did in the next 14 years after it happened as the reason why they shouldn't have been in. That doesn't make any sense.
I'm not saying they shouldn't have been in. I'm saying that the results probably would have been the same. So it's like we can't really like,
okay, but at the time you wouldn't know that. At the time they had gone to, what'd you just say, 10 years straight of going to bowls? You can't predict the next 14 years are going to be like the absolute worst thing in the history of the program. Come on.
I mean, hey, well, I'm saying let's play alternate universe. I'm saying like how it played out, and
yeah, what alternate universe where we can see into the future?
Okay, okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. Okay, well, we'll just say I guess that's what happened after the fact.
Okay, fair.
The Big 12 took Baylor, and the WAC took Rice, and Rice had some fair years in the 16-team WAC. I know they had a couple winning seasons with that triple option under Ken Hatfield, but we'll say the Big 12 takes Rice, and then Baylor goes either WAC or probably WAC instead of Conference USA. And I mean, nothing really happens. Like, I guess things run parallel. Where things start to get kind of crazy is a 2005 conference realignment where Baylor probably either goes from Conference USA or probably goes either, if they're in the WAC, they go to Conference USA or they remain pat. Any thoughts so far, Marshall, on the conference realignment? Like, do you think there's a chance that Rice wasn't horrible in these years? They're all right. You think there's a chance that Rice gets templed, gets kicked out of the Big 12, or they kind of remain like the Vanderbilt of the Big 12?
Nah, in the first years of a new conference, no way they're gonna kick anyone out, dude. You got to let that thing grow a little bit before you start shifting for realignment. Otherwise, it's like, what is your conference? Like, if it's just like some constantly shifting like amalgamation of random teams, like no one's gonna take you seriously. I think no matter what, they wouldn't have gotten kicked out.
I mean, I think it's a fair assessment too, especially for all their academic clout, because the one instance that is comparable to, a team getting kicked out is Temple in the Big East. But, Temple is a Philadelphia school, public institution, not great academically. Like they're not horrible, but they're not great. They're not a Vanderbilt. They're not a Wake Forest. They're not a Duke. And really, they just weren't competitive at all. Like, aside from the occasional wins against Rutgers or so, and the occasional random upsets against Virginia Tech. They really had nothing to offer the conference. So, I mean, I do agree with that. Where things start to get messy, though, is the 2012 realignment. Well, we'll say that Rice still remains in the Big 12 at this time. And the Big East starts to fold, and the Big 12 loses, of course, Nebraska and Colorado. So I want to ask, if you're the Big 12 commissioner with Rice still in, are you taking TCU that, has just gone to a Rose Bowl? Are you taking Baylor with RG3 fresh off a Heisman? Or are you taking West Virginia to fill those two spots?
I mean, really, what's stopping them from taking all three, though? Like, just the fact that you have Rice in.
You have 13 teams at that point, or actually at that point you have 11 teams. You have 11 teams. It would be uneven,
Okay, but let's not pretend like those numbers have stopped conferences before from taking it. I mean, it's like what maybe the evenness could potentially pose an issue, but it's like what Big 10 has 12 teams, Big 12 has 10 teams, like Pac-12, do they even have 12 teams? I don't even know. But it's like I feel like it's arbitrary at that point. I don't know that you stop any of those teams. I mean, I guess it's like, obviously West Virginia would be the odd man out of those two teams, right? In those seasons, sure. So I mean, I guess, guns in my head, West Virginia, but I don't know. These conferences I've seen them do crazier things.
That's true. I mean, for me, I think seeing this, if Rice is still in the Big 12 at this point by now, I think that maybe, the Big 12 focuses on getting a sort of neo Southwestern Conference, controlling that Texas base, and it's hard to say no to the school that would be left on the back end would be TCU, of course. But at that point, it would be hard to say no to a TCU school that's been to the Fiesta Bowl, been to the Rose Bowl too at that point, with Andy Dalton and stuff. And West Virginia, I mean, it's kind of a stretch. Like we're still seeing like the West Virginia, I wouldn't say experiment, but the move or the acceptance of West Virginia, we're still seeing that like play out, at least in football. I mean, basketball, it's played off. I mean, it's paid off a good amount, but in football, it's tough to see like, if West Virginia's really been, I guess the right choice.
I mean, you really gonna disrespect, Nash Curry's brother like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, Will Greer, man, I mean, horns down, the trendsetter, the original horns down. Yeah, I was watching highlights of that game actually, and the one thing that just troubles me so much is the fact that, West Virginia could not play defense that year. Like that, you think about the Oklahoma game on Black Friday with Kyler Murray, like that. They're like Will Greer, Kyler Murray going back and forth, and Will Greer dropped 56, but it just wasn't enough. And that same thing, like it almost wasn't enough too. They had to go for two because I think that Dana Holgerson knew that they weren't going to win the game in overtime because the defense was going to let him down. But that's a brief aside here. But I mean, yeah, like I think honestly, I think West Virginia gets left out, and I mean it's easier for the Big 12 also to say no to TCU. I mean when you have already a bunch of Texas schools and you have a smaller private program, or even Baylor too. Like all three of these schools, like it's a very tight race at that point. If Rice is in the Big 12 at this point, which I can even see West Virginia being sent to the American. My next question is, do you see if West Virginia gets, I guess, shunned by the Big 12, do you see the ACC accepting them over Louisville or even like the Big 10, accepting West Virginia over, say, Maryland? Because I don't think the Big 10 says no to Rutgers in the New York City market.
I mean, I don't know. They definitely would get into one of those conferences, right? They're not like some kind of like small crap time program. You know what I mean? They're going to have a home somewhere. I mean, especially in that market. I mean, it's like what Big 10, they fit West Virginia is right next to Ohio, right? It's right next to Pennsylvania. Like it's right in the middle of all of their teams. Like American, it's probably a little geographically, probably a little bit of a not awkward fit. I mean, it's still like Eastern US, right? It's not like crazy or anything. I don't know. Definitely I could see Maryland. I could see that. I could see them over Maryland probably, but still, like I want to like back up a little bit because you're over here. So you're talking about it's a tight race because so I think like maybe I'm misunderstanding the argument here, right? So you're saying that the Big 12 would be on the fence about taking Baylor or TCU because they have a strong control of the Texas market, or they would take them because they want to grow the Texas market. Explain that one to me.
So I think at that point, so if you're looking for schools I think it's like the same thing. It would be the same thing that when Houston was looking to join the Big 12 to like where, the Big 12 already had like their foot planted in Texas and everything. And at that point in the Big 12, you had Rice, Texas Tech, Texas. And well, let's see, that's just three schools. But even still, like, I mean, what more would a Baylor do, or what more would a TCU do? I mean, then again, I mean,
and those are both Dallas market right there. There's no foothold there in the Dallas market.
Well, not even UT Austin though, because I feel like UT is like a statewide program.
No, it's statewide, but that's Austin.
Okay.
You got plenty of alumni of Baylor and TCU there in Dallas controlling the place.
Okay, no, that's a good point. The Metroplex. Okay, so yeah, then I guess with that point, I guess you take one of those schools, and I guess Baylor gets into the American, or West Virginia into the American as well. Any thoughts so far on this scenario? Like, I think that's where our scenario ends. Unless you have any other choose your own adventure paths.
Okay, so let's say West Virginia goes to the American. What happens when West Virginia ends up upsetting the national champions UCF?
I think that's a valid point. Honestly, I really don't have a comment, but you bring that up with West Virginia staying in the American, because let's see, the American was at 12 teams for a while, and I think the easiest team to really sort of like knock off, and I'm not saying this because of bias, I'm just saying this because of really conference membership. I'm saying it's Navy, because Navy's a football only member. There's like less stakes, thinking, Marshall, who would you rather have? Would you rather have West Virginia or Navy in your conference?
On a Memorial Day, you're going to ask me if I would take somebody over a service academy? Really?
Marshall, don't even play that. I'm a service academy graduate. Don't even play that.
Oh, say, can you see? Come on.
You're going to desecrate our anthem like that on Memorial Day?
What kind of situation you put me in here, man?
I'm just saying, without bias, respect to the troops too. I'm not saying Navy is a bad program. I'm just saying.
Really? Because I think that's what you told me the other day. I remember
that. I didn't say they're a bad program. I said, it's just like they had a bad year. Doesn't mean they're a bad program. I'm gonna get heat from this, from some of my friends, but I mean, I'm just saying though, like it's Navy, or like West Virginia. Like, who are you taking, Marshall? Like, honestly,
I'll tell you what. Huggy Smith, man, Huggy Bear. He's gonna give them the edge there. They're gonna go with West Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, and even then, well, I think maybe even a better argument is like if you look at it, maybe not Navy. I'll go with Tulane. I think Tulane is probably a better case. Tulane or even East Carolina. I mean, one of those schools probably remains in Conference USA. More likely East Carolina because Tulane has that, the New Orleans market. I mean, as small of a hold as that is, I mean, this next year, like you think ESPN was thinking about the ESPN or the New Orleans market when they were scheduling the first week of the season. I mean, Tulane's got that very sexy big noon ABC kickoff against Oklahoma at home. I mean, say it or not, the nerds out in New Orleans have a hold of that market. But yeah, I think maybe not Navy. I'll take back Navy, even though it's like less at stake. They're a 1-sport member. But okay, East Carolina goes to Conference USA. Maybe a smaller effect, but okay.
I don't know about that, man. East Carolina, man, they're coming up in a lot of these sports right now.
No, they're not. Not in basketball. There's like plenty of jokes about them in basketball and football.
They're on the come up. They're a program on the rise. I wouldn't be surprised if they become one of the group of 5 dark horses.
Okay, Marshall, this isn't 2014, my man. They have not been good since they fired Ruffin McNeil.
Look, all I'm saying is, man, they got a very nice golf alum, Harold Varner III, baby. He's going to carry that program. He's going to carry that program on his back.
All right, I got nothing to say, man, because I didn't know it was about golf. But I mean, like, yeah, sure, like East Carolina's been like a little bit more competitive in football, but you really look at it, it's like in the state of North Carolina, they're overshadowed by all the ACC schools and App State as well. I mean, like, so I mean, East Carolina, that I take back the Navy, East Carolina, or even like maybe they say no to UConn earlier.
Hold on. You're gonna tell me they're gonna say no to Kemba Walker?
Well, I mean, Kemba, like at that point, let's see, 2012. Yeah, Kemba, I think Kemba's done. I mean, when they're making those decisions.
Cardiac
right?
Kemba, you're gonna tell me that he's not gonna carry that program on his back? Greg Jennings carrying it on his back.
All I'm saying is this: is like you let West Virginia in. I don't think they say no to UConn because UConn still like got the basketball cloud. I think East Carolina's the odd team out, and they stay in Conference USA, which means that conference remains at 14, and then a Sunbelt team gets kicked lower. I mean, I'm trying to think what Sunbelt team that would be. Would either be
no doubt, New Mexico State, no doubt.
I mean, New Mexico State in this really in this whole thing, I got to say that they probably would remain independent this whole time. If West Virginia gets to the American, kicking down East Carolina to Conference USA, forcing Conference USA to not accept one of the, I think, 4 Sunbelt schools they accepted, where it's Middle Tennessee. I think I got to say Middle Tennessee or Western Kentucky is the odd man out there because, I mean, Middle Tennessee doesn't really have a hold in the Nashville market. Neither does Western Kentucky. So let's see. I mean, either one of those just kicked down. So the Sun Belt doesn't accept either New Mexico State or Idaho, or even potentially like further down the road, one of those teams that they don't accept is a Coastal Carolina, Appalachian State, or Georgia Southern, which will probably be Appalachian State or Georgia Southern that they don't accept. I mean, in that time period, because it happened sooner. But I mean, really, like this one, I mean, it's kind of crazy looking at it. This one event, either I guess there's one of these plays in 1994 in these one-score game, would put potentially in an alternate universe. We're not saying it's likely. Alternate universe would put Rice in the Big 12 and really cause shock.
And as a result, it brings the Sun Belt loses their real only national championship that time. Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, Coastal Carolina. They're Collie Matrix national title winner, Coastal Carolina. Like, I mean, it's just crazy to imagine. I mean, these alternate histories. I mean, I kind of feel like we're
I'm not even talking about Collie Matrix. I'm talking about baseball, baby. Coastal Carolina won the College World Series a couple years ago.
That's right. Yeah,
a true national champion.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Hey, I mean, I gotta say, the folks of the Collie Matrix, we're not disrespecting you. I respect the Collie Matrix, and I think they're the most legitimate national champion chooser out of all of them, even more legitimate than the playoff. But you can't fight computers.
you can't fight that big old gold national championship trophy. That's what you can't fight.
Are you talking about the gold one? Are you talking about the CFP national championship or the glass football?
I'm talking about the trophy you get when you win a national championship.
I want the glass football back. You know,
Oh my
the glass.
god.
I'm on team glass football. I don't like the CFP trophy. The glass football. I mean, you're telling me, instead of hoisting a trophy, I mean, there's nothing like that. Like the coach of the national championship winning team hoisting the football over the platform and raising it. Like, come on, man. That's like the Lion King.
And then he just drops it and it shatters into a million pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt it.
It's like I'll tell you what, maybe they should replace it with the Lombardi. You see the Lombardi when it got that big old dent in it? That thing's durable.
Oh yeah, with with Gronk, Gronk left his legacy, man. I mean, on that trophy.
Like I'm just saying that thing's durable. That college football play, that old BCS trophy, man. That thing looks like a cigarette tray you see at grandma's house.
I mean, honestly, it looks holographic. I think that's what they're going for. Like, it looks holographic, but I mean, holographs have been cool since the 90s.
Bro, holographic, bro. Like, you can have a hologram of Michael Jackson holding that thing too.
I mean, that doesn't much to do with college football. Like, I mean, but
like I'm just saying, if you're gonna start throwing around, hologram, holographic, you're gonna throw around all these words. It's like you're just gonna start getting too wild with this. It's not gonna have anything to do with football at some point.
Okay, that's true. All right, well, let's get back to football then. I think so. The one more topic we have with this scenario is, of course, the triple option. As Rice's teams ran the triple option from '94, I'm not sure exactly the first year, but the early '90s up until 2005 when Ken Hatfield was fired. But I mean, do you think the triple option gains more traction nationwide if Rice is running the triple option in the Big 12? And I would assume they'd be, kind of competitive. They wouldn't. I mean. They'd be in some close games with some of the contenders with the triple option. Do you think that brings it to more popularity? Do you think we have, you think we'd avoid the comments like Khalil Tate, I didn't come to Arizona to run the triple option. Do you think we'd avoid that if Rice was in the Big 12 running the triple option?
I don't think it'd make that much of a difference because what are they going to do? They're going to be the Vanderbilt of the conference, man. They're going to be at the bottom of it every single year. It's going to make it probably might make it worse because you'd see them running it and you'd see them losing so badly.
Well, let's see. I mean, the triple option, like, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that, in the mid 2000s that Rice would steal a win from Iowa State or post Bill Snyder, Kansas State, post Bill Snyder, Kansas State would still that reputation.
Still a win, sure, every now and then, but that's like Kansas stealing a win from Texas. Everyone's going to make a meme out of it, but it's like no one's going to take them seriously.
Okay. I think that's fair. I mean, I don't know, man. I just think like, these national TV appearances, like imagine this, Rice on an ABC regional telecast beating, say maybe not Texas, maybe Oklahoma State on ABC regional telecast, on network TV, they see this triple option absolutely rolling. And, teams are like, let's run the triple option. Fans are clamoring for the triple options. They see this, I don't think that's too unreasonable to say. I bring up,
it's like what's going to happen. I mean, the air raid's going to come on the scene and just take over anyways. So I mean, it's just like, why do you think it's taking over so much? I mean, it's like pro college. You got all these it's because that's what the future is. It's like it's almost inevitable to get better passing efficiency, increase your team's overall efficiency.
Well, I bring up two games from the 2010 season, and I bring up a sort of similar system. 2010, sure. Early in that season, you got UCLA, Texas. UCLA. They're running the pistol at that point, and they weren't good at all. They weren't great under Rick Neuheisel running the pistol. But in that game, they ran the ball up and down the field against Texas at Darrell K. Royal Stadium, and I like to think that contributed greatly to the Pistols' growth in college and if not pro football. And then I also bring up the infamous Boise State Nevada game. Colin Kaepernick on a Black Friday night, running up and down the field. Leading Nevada back to beat Boise State, crush their national title hopes. And again, the next few years, the Pistols everywhere in college football. You don't think something like that would happen with Rice, where Rice ends up upsetting? Because I got to think they're due for an upset, man, in the span of 14, 20, 15, 20 years.
Statistically, like a one upset, sure.
Like a high profile upset. You don't think that would do the same thing too, like to advance the cause of the option?
I mean, there's upsets every day in college football. I don't think it makes that big a difference.
But they're all running the Joe Schmo spread. Like there's certain games in the history of college football. Like I give another example: 2000 Northwestern versus Michigan, and Northwestern, Zach Kustok goes blow for blow with Drew Henson, I believe. Northwestern wins an absolute thriller, 54-51, and that is considered like the turning point for the spread in college football. You don't think that there would be a game like that where Rice goes against a heavily favored OU or a heavily favored Texas, and maybe upsets them, or even like Texas A&M. Texas A&M had their years in these days, and upsets them. You don't think that would attract even more teams in the group of 5 running the option, and before then you have like 5-10 teams run the triple option?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't see it sticking. Maybe a couple teams try it, maybe a couple more teams fade off. I don't see it. And I will say I find it very disrespectful. You bring up Colin Kaepernick on Memorial Day. Okay.
I'm not. You put me in a tough spot, man. Like, I cannot believe you put me in a tough spot, because I'm not. I'm not gonna make a remark on anything about that. I'm talking strictly about what happened on the field that night in Nevada. So I'm just gonna not talk about that. But I mean, all I gotta say is this, it's kind of a shame. Like, you look at nowadays the option teams that are not the service academies. You got Georgia Southern, and you got Tulane. Tulane started off as an option-heavy team. They've kind of faded away, especially this year when they had an absolutely quality passer in Mike Pratt. Mike Pratt, dark horse Heisman winner. Look at him. Look, if Mike Pratt goes throw for throw, run for run with Spencer Rattler, September 4th in New Orleans, put Mike Pratt on your Heisman list. But even then,
was that a Soulja Boy reference?
What was that?
Was that a Soulja Boy reference?
What, throw? No, it was. I'm saying throw for throw, run for run. No, I'm not trying to
throw for throw, run for run, bar for bar.
I'm not going like that. But I'm saying if Mike Pratt goes throw for throw. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, Mike Pratt, even nowadays, Tulane isn't as much of an option team as they used to be. But I guess you do have a point, because if it would have stuck, it would have. Navy hasn't gone anywhere. Army hasn't gone anywhere, especially, we've had high profile games like the Michigan game in 2019, the Oklahoma game. But yet, it just never ceases to amaze me how much fans love to throw the football and not love to win, but I'm sorry I'm throwing shade at 100 programs here, but it is what it is. Like, have fun going 4-8 anyway.
So I'm just going to assume you're the biggest Tyrone Swoops fan out there.
Tight end Tyrone Swoops or a quarterback Tyrone Swoops? Which one are we talking about here?
I'm talking about the one that would take that thing right out the gut as if it was an option.
You know what? Not him. I want Jared Hurd. That's who I want. I want Jared Hurd, not Tyrone Swoops. Not Tyrone less than 100 yards in the Texas Bowl against Arkansas Swoops.
Ooh.
Sorry, nothing personal. I doubt he'll find this, but nothing personal.
Tyrone, if you want to retort that, feel free to let us know in the DMs.
I'm not trying to have Tyrone Swoops go Kwame Brown on me, man. Like, that is the last thing I'd want.
Okay, if you could get Tyrone Swoops in the podcast, you would be so happy. Do not even pretend. You would.
I'd be happy, but
you would let him roast you for a full hour straight if that's what it took. Come on.
I guess if that's what it took, but I'd end up looking at the views, 100 views. Tyrone Swoops goes mad on random podcasts here. Like, it just wouldn't be worth it. The payoff wouldn't be worth it.
Tyrone Swoops calls in a drone strike on the podcast formerly known as Podcast.
Drone strike. Hey, let's not talk about drone strikes on Memorial Day, honestly. I guess that ends our scenario. You see, I guess it is an alternate universe for sure. And it's
you know what? I will say, I made a lot of jokes, but it is actually interesting to think about. It's like you take in one team here, and now it's like the whole landscape's kind of shaken up. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, maybe we'll make a series out of this too, because another what if scenario that's actually more realistic and kind of more interesting would be if Army would have stayed in Conference USA, which that definitely has reverberations across the college football landscape for sure. Which we'll do at a later time, but we're trying to line up some guests in the college football community for
what we should do?
Future pods.
We should call this series NFL.
That name's already taken.
No. You're thinking of a different podcast.
No, I'm thinking of a video series called NFL.
No.
Yeah.
No. You're thinking. Look. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. Just look. That's an original thought. Okay. Look. Like, I stole my idea. Okay.
No, I don't.
Dave Damashek. Dave Damashek. Is it Dave Damashek?
Yeah, Dave Damashek. Yeah, Dave Damashek. He didn't steal anything, man.
Bro, I came up with that idea. I posted it on Reddit many years ago. He stole that idea from me.
All right.
Okay. I'm reclaiming it. Okay.
All right. All right, take
Don't
it to
ask.
court.
Don't ask me to show you the Reddit post. Don't ask me.
Class action lawsuit. You know what you have to do. Class action lawsuit now. But I mean, there's
Yeah. Do you
other.
need evidence for those things?
Oh, that is true. I mean, maybe not pull a Nathan Fielder class action lawsuit against Best Buy.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah, no, absolutely funny show. Nathan, for you, great show. But yeah, if you watch this, let us know any other what if scenarios you like. I mean, there's a few in my head that I'm thinking of too. I remember reading in a book actually, which was my inspiration, the book by Matt Brown, What If, which covered a bunch of scenarios like what if Tulane never left the SEC. And I mean, a lot of the bigger ones have been covered, but there's like smaller ones too. Like the Southwestern Conference was courting Tulane. So I mean, what if that happened there? But there are some ones that haven't been covered. But in the coming weeks, we'll there's a lot of big news, old rivalries, Colgate, Syracuse, Holy Cross, Boston College, and also ballpark football too. We love ballpark football. So just stay tuned.
Huge scenario that would give huge reverberations throughout the college football landscape. What if Omar was 4 inches taller?
Yeah, my brother just laughed at that. I don't think that would have huge reverberations.
No. Watch, follow. So 4 inches taller, moves off practice squad, starting varsity, New Mexico Gatorade Player of the Year, shutdown corner, Darrell Revis, recruited to play Alabama, start quarterback, takes over for Patrick Surtain. No more Patrick Surtain. Okay. Huge reverberations.
I don't think. Hey, as kind as that is, Marshall. Some people are made for special teams. I'm one of those people. And even then, if I'm taking an Ivy League school all the way. If I had the chance, But I appreciate the kindness.
Men's bringing Brown all the way to the Natty.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Brown, they might show up in one of our newer podcasts coming up. But yeah, I mean, Brown's got a lot of work to do in the Ivy Leagues right now. Let's just say that Fritz Pollard ain't walking in that door anytime soon. But I mean, I think this comes to a close for our Memorial Day podcast. You have any other final thoughts, Marshall? With that, is that Man U? Yes. I never knew they wore that design. Is that a 90s design?
Well, technically, it's based off of 90s design art. This is Human Race, so it's basically Pharrell. He redesigned the jersey. They wore it. They wore this kit in game recently. They wore it a few games, but it's basically like a rethinking of their snowflake logo. So it's kind of like a geometric snowflake almost design, right? And so he did this for a bunch of different iconic jerseys, and they almost wash it out. Almost looks like it's water paint colors in a sense. But I don't know, interesting take on it. I like it. Shout out, Man U. They lost the other day. Horrible overtime loss. PKs. They lost. They went all the way. They were perfect, 10 for 10 on PKs. Both teams against Villarreal in the Euro League final. And then the keepers. So they went through every single penalty kicker, right? And this is after the long ass game. And so then you finally get down. It's the last two players to take these PKs, right? It's the two goalies. And so the goalies get out there, the Villarreal, he goes up there, he fucking drills it, and then, Manchester's dude gets up there. It was horrible. He just kicked it like a 5-year-old kicks that thing, man.
Dang.
Easily blocked. They lost. Heartbreaker. I think it was his name, David something. I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm a huge fan or anything, but it was dramatic to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big soccer guy. My friend's trying to get me to be a Chelsea fan. So I mean, they won.
We just brought these Bramford jerseys, dude. Bramford. It's this team from, I don't even know. It's some German team maybe or something like that, right? But they were in some lower tier league, right? And so then this dude that's he majored in physics or something. He's a PhD in physics. He worked at Bank of America as a trader. He quit that job. He goes over, starts doing sports analytics for the small time team, transforms them. They take over that league, and they just got promoted. They just took over these leagues, and they just got promoted to the Champions League. And now they're so it's crazy. It's a crazy story.
Oh, I mean, yeah, math, the math revolution in sports it's great. I mean, it's amazing. Honestly, I have nothing really else eloquent to say about it. But Yeah, I mean, soccer, there's a lot of things in soccer that could be carried on into college football, especially like relegation too. But if you have anything else to say, Marshall, if that concludes your remarks, sorry, I sound like I'm in court or something.
That was my closing statement, Your Honor.
Oh gosh. And just
we're gonna hold David in contempt.
I mean, he's in the background playing NBA Playground, so he's just chilling right now. But until
David face reveal on the podcast.
No, he said no. He said no. He's camera shy. Yeah, until next time, enjoy Memorial Day. Remember the reason we have this long weekend. Not throwing shade at anyone, but it's just like friendly reminders are necessary at times. Enjoy the weekend. But until next time, everyone, peace, love, and soul.